live intelligent beings of the everywhere. Artists of Edo period and of Edo the city, which is now Tokyo, woodblock artists, Hiroshiki and Hokusai, have used Fuji as a vertical symbol that's seen from everywhere in the city. Tsukuba, a double-peaked mountain in Ibaraki or historic Hitachi province, was also prominent on some of Edo area landscapes. Since the Meiji, Taisho and Showa period, since the late 19th century and definitely since the post-Second World War Japan, Fuji can no longer be seen from the ground level of Tokyo. The new vertical symbol towering over Tokyo was constructed in 1958. The Tokyo Tower, the tallest tower in the world until Ostankino Tower was completed in 1967. Tokyo Tower still stands and still looks gorgeous, but like with the Fuji before, there's now more taller buildings in the way. The new vertical symbol for a new Tokyo, Tokyo of the late Heisei era, was completed in 2011. It was Tokyo Skytree. The name Skytree, spelled in English, was chosen by a popular vote, with other names being Tokyo Edo Tower or Mirai Tower, the Tower of Dreams. Mirai was already occupied by Minato Mirai in Yokohama, the Port of Dreams, and Tokyo Edo just doesn't sound as epic as Skytree. Tokyo Skytree, with a height of 634 meters, is the second tallest human-made structure on the planet, at the time of recording. The only taller one is Burj Khalifa in Dubai. After the completion of Kuala Lumpur 118 building, Tokyo Skytree will be the third tallest structure. As for towers, Tokyo Skytree is the tallest in the world, taller than Canton Tower in Guangzhou, CN Tower in Toronto, and Ostankino Tower in Moscow, and shall remain like that for a while. My first visit to Japan was within a few years since the tower with its observation decks was open to the public. That visit brought surprising mixed feelings. The price was high, and the view was, perhaps surprisingly, too high too. Perhaps unsurprisingly, there was no option to look around without the glass in the way. Until, during my last visit to Tokyo, I found out that there was, now, a way which motivated me to revisit the tower. Tokyo Skytree is not just a tower. It is a large complex with shops, an oceanarium, and a railway station underneath. Tokyo Solomachi shopping mall under the tower actually is a very good place to get gifts. There is even a Pokemon Center and a small Kyokudo shop. On the premise there is a permanent exhibition of Chiba Institute of Technology called Tokyo Skytree Town Campus. One part of the exhibition mostly deals with robotics, but has some other fun stuff too. Another part is space related. There were devices that were sent to the International Space Station and a full-scale model of Hayabusa 2. They also show a small film about their research. Also, underneath the tower is a very nice postal museum that has permanent displays on the history of Japanese post, on philately, and there was a nice temporary exhibition that highlighted more of a personal nature of postal workers. Had to add this sticker in the middle, given the geography. The museum shop has stamps, envelopes and postcards. There, I've got a 1905 postcard. Surprisingly, there were a lot of empty envelopes addressed to Santa Claus. Do the elves of the Santa Claus post office in Rovaniemi sell those to make additional money? If you mail a postcard from the Post Museum, it will be cancelled with a special stamp. A coffee shop on the tower's premise does not allow to take photos of dogs. Now, to the Tokyo Skytree Tower itself. Near the entrance, there is a series of sculptures representing the tower. There is a nice free section that explains, in Japanese and English, basic facts about Tokyo Skytree in the form of a Q&A. Such as how the interior structure works, and how the tower changes the cross-section from triangular to circular, or how Tokyo Tower manages to be secure despite the danger of earthquakes. Note that the Great Tohoku earthquake and tsunami of 2011 took place during the construction of the tower, when it was nearing final stages. It took just 3 years and 8 months to construct the tower. There is a section on how plumbing works with such heights. The tower is colored white, but at night it is illuminated by 3 colors most of the time, all represent Japanese hard-to-translate concepts. The goldish yellow is Nobori, prosperity. The purple is Miyabi, an aesthetic principle. The blue one is Iki, that was translated as the spirit of urban commoners of Edo, but also can be described as sophistication. 2 more colors that were noticed in the wild, red and green, are perhaps reserved for the festivities, as it was winter holiday season. The tower has 3 mascots, and because of the same holiday season, I was gifted a pin with the most popular mascot at the cafe I stopped for lunch. Tokyo Skytree might seem like an attraction, but it is practical, as if you want to deliver digital radio and television in densely populated Tokyo agglomeration, you need to build high. For why 634 meters, the answer is adorably straightforward. It's because the number is easy for Japanese people to remember and we wanted to make it the tallest tower in the world. 634 can also be read as Musashi, referring to Musashi Plains. The elevators to the observation decks are nicely decorated and the display shows the vertical speed. The first observation deck is at 350 meters above ground. There was a nice replica of Edo period panorama, painted on a folding screen in 1809 by Keisai Kuwagata. The original is in Tsushima City Museum in Okayama. What attracts the most people is the section where you can stand on a glass overlooking the ground. The observation decks are divided into 2 levels, which is common for many towers. Tokyo Tower also has 2, Eiffel Tower has 3. Like Roppongi Hill's Mori Tower, the ticket to the higher deck costs extra. The elevator to the highest deck, called Tanbo Galleria, has glass windows and glass doors.
Next up is the Tokyo Skytree Temple Galleria, floor 4.
On Mori Tower, the roof, the skydeck is sometimes closed because it is open to the elements, and if there is rain or strong wind, people aren't allowed up. The Tembo Gallery of Tokyo Skytree at 450 meters is of course covered with glass, but the reason to spend more on going up depends on the weather too, as chances are the top observation deck may be completely covered with clouds. With 450 meters above ground, it is one of the highest observation decks in the world. It is topped only by the Shanghai Tower, Pyongyang Finance Center in Shenzhen, Burj Khalifa in Dubai, Canton Tower in Guangzhou, Lotte World Tower in Seoul, which is the highest view actually visited personally, Abraj Al Bait in Mecca, and Shanghai World Financial Center. Taipei 101 at 449 meters, and CN Tower in Toronto at 446 meters come very close. Such the heights are very susceptible to the weather, and as in Tokyo it can get foggy, cloudy and rainy quite too often. It means that even at the lower 350 meters, it might be a view of the white fog only. This is why there are displays online and at the ticket office showing the current weather. The footage looks blue not because of the problems with the camera, but because there's too much atmosphere air in the way. From 450 meters, the city no longer looks like a model, it looks like a technical drawing. The observation deck is spiral, and you can see the lower part from the higher one. Staff only. Tokyo Skytree Winter Collection. Caution, door opens. If you're lucky and the weather is clear, you can see Mount Fuji in a distance of 100 kilometers away. Or, in this case, a part of Mount Fuji. Tokyo Tower looks tiny. It is about 8 kilometers away from Tokyo Skytree. Here is a view towards Arakawa River, with the Goshikizakura Bridge also about 8 kilometers away. These cranes seems to belong to the port of Tokyo, and behind it seems it's Haneda Airport, 18 kilometers away from the tower. It needs to overlook the Tokyo Bay. The bridge on the left seems to be a bridge of the Metropolitan Expressway Bayshore route. The white chimney in the front of the bridge seems to belong to Shinkoto incineration plant. The structured one belongs to some sort of an industrial complex in Shinsuna. In the far distance can be seen the bridge of the Tokyo Bay Aqualine Highway that connects Kanagawa with Chiba. It's a tunnel bridge across Tokyo Bay, like Øresund Bridge that connects Sweden and Denmark. From Tokyo Skytree, it's 30 kilometers away. It's much clearer to look nearer, as there's much less atmosphere in the way. Here's the view of Asakusa and Azumabashi areas. This railway line connects directly to Tokyo Skytree, and behind is the complex of Sensoji Temple, one of the most popular tourist destinations in Tokyo. One of the main advantages of towers over buildings with observation decks is how you can look directly below you. Here is a small Keisei bridge, and here is a view down on the Tokyo Skytree complex with Tokyo Salamachi shopping mall and railway lines north of Tokyo Skytree. Now, the time was to return to the lobby down at the ground level, visiting another nicely decorated elevator, because the whole reason of coming to the tower was Skytree Terrace Tour just recently introduced. For an additional fee, During a few time slots you pre-register into, you are guided to the open maintenance deck. It is felt right at home. Your phone is put into a special bag, your camera is tied to your vest, and your glasses are mounted to your head. The briefing and the tour is in Japanese. For non-Japanese speaking visitors, a smartphone guide is provided, which I recommend reading before the tour begins. It leaves more time to look around. The tour begins in a maintenance elevator. It is decorated like the public ones, but instead of a screen showing fancy graphics, there is a display of meters of height. The elevator stops for the crew to open the external doors. The maintenance terrace on which the tour takes place is 155 meters high, lower than Roppongi Hill's Mori Tower skydeck roof view, which is at 238 meters. The most impressive part of the tour, in addition to the whole view, is an ability to look at the internal structure of the tower. The tower is constructed with the inner structure projecting inside out, but from the distance what's behind the lattice isn't really visible. The tower is filled with maintenance terraces, hidden beneath the horizontals of the outside structure. Here are the LED assemblies that make the tower glow at night. The elevator shaft. The terrace is only open in good weather, and when the wind isn't overly strong, but even at calm weather the wind is pleasantly present. Since the opening of the terrace, prominent guests been asked to sign a pylon on the east. Azumabashi in Asakusa is Sensoji Temple. The chimney in the distance seems to belong to Toshima Incineration Plant, with the tallest building on the left perhaps being the Sunshine 60 Tower in Ikebukuro. Tokyo Skytree can serve as a solar dial, considering the huge shadow it creates. Tokyo Skytree, for me, is a beautiful sight from the outside, but an expensive crowded view, even if extremely high, but still behind the glass. The tour now compensated by removing that glass and adding the advantage to see and touch the inner engineering, something that is always a pleasant thing to do. Skytree Terrace Tour would not replace Mori Tower Skydeck as the favorite open-air view. It can't even replace the views from Skytree observation decks, all due to the limited time on the tour and the hassle with having to pre-register. It's a different experience for a good revisit of the tower. On the way back, the staff had pointed out that you can see the elevator shaft through the gap between the elevator and the walls. For new visitors, I'd recommend taking the terrace tour, and taking it first before venturing to the observation decks, as this way there won't be a time limit before your tour, but I'd also recommend to not be overly upset if the tours are cancelled during your visit. Big night and good hugs everyone! Remember to subscribe here and on Patreon, and remember, the higher you go, the colder the boiling hot tea becomes.